Good evening. The time is now 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this Town of Plainfield Water Pollution Control Authority public hearing to order. Roll call.
Art Gagnon.
Kevin Cunningham.
Peggy Boyd.
Item C, which is public comment. If there's anybody here from the public that wishes to speak, please do so. You can come up to the microphone, say your name and whatever you want to say. I guess that's a no, right?
I'm just here for like an assessment on my son's property that he put in.
Okay.
So I guess that's going to be on the discussion for tonight.
Yep.
You have this 28 Orange Street, but it's actually 23.
I do. Yes. I understand me typed the wrong number. Okay. So you have received the copy of the proposed budget for 26. Current rate for sewer assessment is $432. With the budget that is being proposed, there would be a raise of $22. So it would go to $454. And you know what? I didn't print out that little. So busy. I apologize. I didn't print out the little list of different towns. You have it though? Can I have it? Yeah, that'd be great. Excellent. I'll share this with everybody here. So for our town to be at we'll be proposing at 454. I asked for sewer rates that are current for towns in the state of Connecticut around us that have sewer rate sets. And for residential, like Putnam as an example, Putnam is at 516. So we're a little higher than Torrington with 420, or Canton 475, East Hampton at 580, South Windsor 460, Town of Groton is would be currently at 432. Is that Farmington? That would be Farmington, not okay. 366. Thomaston is at 485, and Killingly, which is very comparable, right next door, they're at 560. North Haven 370, and Glastonbury 504 for only those on the well. Anyways, this is what I asked to put a list together, so that's what it is. I think we're very competitive. Relationship to other municipalities actually much better than Killingly, which is at 560. So I think what we're looking to do is continue on with what we have. We have some upgrades which are currently in the works. I saw the email today talking about the solar moving. It is now complete and back online, so that helps. Just a little bit of cleanup and that's it. Other projects we have going on for the public to know?
We are still working with Westmobile and DEP on secondary clarifiers in the North plant. I'm working on a CIF grant with the town grant writer for potentially a 20-year facility plan. I am trying to get on a clean water priority list for a 20-year facility plan for both the North plant, Village plant, and the pump station as well. And then we also need an I&I study, which means finding the inflow and infiltration coming into the plants, find out where it's coming from, and then repair anything to stop it from coming in.
Okay. Obviously, there are some other businesses coming online soon. We do have a U-line, which is in the process of being built, and they will be coming up and online. Of the 13 pump stations, I think there's one I really want to talk about. We have over in Moose Up, right by the what used to be the old Plainfield Greyhound Park. If anybody's driven by and seen that, it really came out nice. I'm sorry, in Plainfield, yeah. So that really came out nice. Generator upgrades still going forward.
If that one's actually pretty much 99% complete, just waiting for the sign off.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't want to put any other town in a negative light. I would just say that Plainfield's done a very good job lately with putting forth a plan to put everything together to upgrade. So we were very fortunate, obviously, with the 88 ARPA monies and other things that we did, but I think that we're actually on the right foot forward and looking good for the future, because actually being able to take on all the effluent from other new businesses coming in and still be able to look forward to other things coming in is very good. So Again, this is a public hearing, if anybody wishes to ask a question.
On the budget, sure.
Yeah,
I have three. In the beginning, in revenues, pre-industrial treatment went up 50,000, where other revenues went down 50,000. Is that just a moving of?
So other
Revenues?
revenues going down, we get a lot of, Sterling gets a lot of I-9, and then they pay us a surcharge. They just raised all their manholes to grade, so I anticipate a reduced income coming from Sterling for that. So that's why other revenue went down.
Okay.
And just pre-treatment is from a lot of the industrial utilities in town. They just have been giving us more sewage, and we charge them per gallon. So,
Okay.
so they've just been giving us an increase over the years, so we finally matched that to match past years.
I'm glad I asked. I thought it was just, because it was the same amount.
Yep.
Yeah. Engineering, the 100,000 for that?
Yes, we never had an engineering line item before, so we have paid engineers just come out of either capital improvement or something like that. We're using fuss, like I said, for multiple projects. I had to reach out to the Army Corps of Engineers for a couple other projects. We still use CHA for building and roofing projects. So the goal is to keep doing capital improvement projects. So I wanted to make sure that line item was separated out.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
So what projects are going to cost us $100,000? What exact projects do you foresee in engineering costing an extra $100,000 this year?
This year alone, the roofing project cost $30,000 alone just in engineering.
I'm talking about the future budget.
So Fuss and O'Neill, depending on how much grant and loan money we get, the I&I study, getting that on the ground, and the facility plan. The facility plan is $200,000 to $300,000 alone. The I&I study, cost-wise, to go into the millions. So, and I mean,
If it costs millions, but you've only budgeted $100,000?
cost millions for the project, but
the
100,000.
whole project costs millions, but to get the project going, I would need the $100,000 for engineering.
To get the projects up and running?
Yeah, just to get the costs and bidding and get all that in line.
And what's those initials? Say that again?
The I-9 says
Yes, please.
inflow and infiltration. So every so many years, wastewater treatment plants should do I&I studies. So I&I means inflows coming into the plant, either from roof spouts, cracks in the lines, roof leaders that are illegally connected, and stuff like that. So if I have a 1 million gallon a day plant, and it rains, I get 200 to 300 gallons of I&I. That's 200 to 300 gallons that I can't have users connect, because that capacity is taken during rain events. If I can reduce that $200,000 to $300,000, 200 to 300 gallons of water coming in, then that could go to users around town.
And you could do that by doing more with an engineer?
Yes, so the engineer would come out and do a study. They put different devices in different manholes, wait for different rain events to come, and see how much flow is increasing in each location, try to pinpoint where the I&I is coming from. Once that's done, once we kind of have an idea where it's coming from, then you got a camera on the lines, figure out where exactly the problem is. Is it a manhole, is it the line that's coming from the houses? And then after that, once you find it, then now you have to fix the problem.
And
So it's like a 2 or 3
the
thing.
engineer you need is different than the engineer we have for town?
Absolutely,
All
yeah.
right, that's-
Yeah, there's so many different types of engineering types.
Mhm.
You could have a structural engineer for beam systems. You could have different types of engineers for sewer. There's all sorts of engineers. So that's a specialty one that we'd have.
Okay, all right.
I didn't want to increase the sewer rate too much, so we didn't have that line item before, so 100,000 was a good start. We'll see how many projects we can get done and how many grants we can get.
Then my last question was electricity, went up 60,000.
We are anticipating across for the delivery charge. I think some of our delivery comes from Canada, and with all the tariffs and surcharges, we anticipate an increase from every source.
Yeah. I mean, if you compare it to a house, it's not bad, but it's still a lot.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, all right. Computers and software went up 84%. What is that?
So we didn't have any software line item before, so we added that in. We are getting a new kind of maintenance software to keep better track of what maintenance is being done to our pump pool.
So we didn't do that before?
We have like paper logs in the past.
Because that's 84%, it's a hefty thing.
And then computers, talking to our, missions? Not missions,
Mission control or no?
Grant, talking to Grant, our desktop is running slow and needs possibly a new computer, and then our laptops also running slow and possibly a new laptop there as well.
We haven't identified what that is, why they're running slow yet?
Now I have a ticket in, they haven't gotten back to me.
All right, so you're just, at this point, you're just guessing that they're running slow?
No,
because-
they confirmed they're running slow. I had a ticket in.
But you don't have an idea why?
But I know, they just tell me what I said, the desktop's old, so chances are it's just running slow because it's an older one, so it's just gonna need updated. Laptops also probably in 2016, also 10 years old, so chances are they're just older devices this time. That combined with the engineering firm, the old facility plans here. We have some roofs that are still leaking, we still have original 1970 electrical, pretty much everything.
So that's what so it's not actually equipment, it's buildings.
Yes, it's capital.
It's construction for the buildings.
Yeah, generally it's like larger capital improvement projects, not just buying one motor.
Right.
So I'm getting a whole system, roofs, buildings, tanks.
So going forward, I would not put that as equipment. I would put that as a building, whatever you want to do, call it. I wouldn't call it equipment, because equipment to me, if you go out buy a tractor or something, that's equipment. You're going to actually improve electrical, it's actually construction and building.
Yeah.
So it's misleading when you do that.
Yeah, I can separate it.
Just letting you know for the future, because I would think you're buying a piece of equipment.
Yeah, I do that too, It's combined in kind of one line item. But yeah.
I get it. But it's more, it's more for,
Yeah.
There's 100% decrease. I know I should be talking about decreases, but let's do it anyway. On a, is it the telephone? I'm trying to read it. Telephone new system loan. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do initial payment for the upgrade of the telephone. So she doesn't have to do the initial payment this year.
Okay, so she doesn't gotta doesn't gotta carry it over?
Right.
I like to be fair, whether
Yeah.
I do increases,
Yeah, yeah.
whether you do costs. All right, so you just don't have to pay the initial $3,000. Okay, that's my questions. Oh, one other thing, I do think 6%, I mean, it's in this economy, it's not much, but it is when people have to pay, you know what I mean, the taxes and everything that they're paying.
Yeah.
So why 6% doesn't seem like much to a budget? 6% is a lot of money. That's my thoughts on that.
Any other questions or comments? The actual action item is on the, so we're really not taking any action at this point because it's a public hearing only. Unless there's any other comments or questions, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was 6:15. We now go into the amended special Water Pollution Control Authority meeting for May 29th. Roll call.
Art Gagnon.
Kevin Cunningham.
Peggy Gori.
You do have in your, hopefully in your packet, the meeting from the January 27th. It's the last time we met.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 27, 2025.
And I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item D, public comment. Anybody wish to speak on anything on the agenda for tonight? There is one item we have to just acknowledge that we have a typo because of me. It should be 23 Florence Street.
Yes.
Yep. So if we want to go into, there is no old business, go into new business item F1, discuss and set the sewer use rate for fiscal year 25-26. We heard and reviewed it. Are there any other comments or questions? Now, if you are making a motion to include what we have, the motion should say, to set the sewer rate for $454 per use and the WPCA budget at $2,507,565.24.
What's that number again?
That'll be good to you.
I'll make a motion to set the sewer use rate at $454 per use and the WPCA budget at $2,507,565.24.
Art's made a motion.
And I'll second it.
Peg will second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Item 2, discuss and act on a request for refunds to accept credit or to accept credit towards future sewer and property taxes in lieu of immediate cash reimbursement for 58 Smith Road. In your packet, there's been some communication back and forth. I can set up what happened a little bit, and maybe you can help fill in pieces for me. Property purchased years ago on 58 Smith Road by the Levesque family. There were a couple of issues there. Come to find out, long story short, come to find out that they were not actually hooked up to a grinder. That'd be correct?
Correct.
The other item that was kind of unique about this was that they had hired someone to verify what was going on. Once we found that out, we had a plan for fixing it. We had to wait until the spring because it was underneath, the original box was underneath a deck off the back of the house. Okay. Did we ever find out if there was ever any permits for said deck? I don't think that, I think that there were not. From the initial install and the redo of the deck, there were no, there's no paperwork on it for it.
Okay, hold on. So the deck was built over the top of the box?
Yep.
So yeah, septic tank. No, we do the
Septic tank's under there, or the box?
Let's say it's the septic tank.
The septic tank was under the deck. I'm assuming the septic tank was there first. They built the deck over it.
Right.
The E1 grinder pumps were installed, traveling to the pond.
I know up there.
So this one had an E1 grinder pump.
How did it have an E-White grinder pump if we never hooked it up?
We subcontract out for some of that work.
Yeah, so the town hired a contractor to help us with the work. Somehow the E1 pump got installed, electricity got installed, fully functional, but no one knew the septic tank was there and it never got hooked up to the E1 grinder pump.
Which is why you'll see,
Who did we hire to do this mess?
Wire engineering, I know did it more than 20 years ago.
No,
I do not know the contractor who we used.
for this particular property?
Yeah, so the same contractor that did it for every property.
Right.
But I did not know the name of the contractor that we used back then. Yeah.
Do we know the name of the contractor? It's not.
no, we're
anybody's
still
record?
finding that record.
You know, the original homeowner, I think, has passed away. The supervisor of the WPCA has since passed away. So,
Okay, it's got to be town records somewhere.
yeah, and
Well,
then
not necessarily, but
the health department didn't have any records of where the septic tank was either.
And the property, the plan of the property doesn't have that septic on there?
Yeah, the health department did not.
No, I'm not talking about, so when you have a property, it shows you where everything is.
but you have to go through the health district and they have a record of it and we can't find that.
No, I know, but I'm just talking about the property, where the property, this property thing, okay? It's tells you where the septic is, it tells you where all your lines are.
That's not actually true for every property. There are plenty of plans that just have the outline of the property and not where
Really?
everything is. I have to send people to the health department all the time because we don't have that on their
Well,
plans.
Smith Road's not that old, so that's my question.
None of my records found, at least at the time, that there was a septic tank under the deck.
So how did it not, do you have any idea how it didn't get hooked up when everybody else, I mean, they came to my house and they crushed sand in a brand new septic tank, okay?
So my best guess is, no, the health department didn't know where a septic tank is. We didn't know what a septic tank is. There's a deck over the septic tank, so, and it looks like they might have crushed maybe the dry well. Looks like, according to my records, maybe something was crushed, but obviously not completely.
Okay, and then we didn't hook up a septic to the house?
That would have been the subcontractor that we talked about before, through McGuire. And we hadn't any documentation that said it wasn't hooked up.
Yeah, so they were under the, these new homeowners were under the assumption they were hooked up. I was under the assumption they were hooked up. And then after they hired a plumber to do an investigation, they found out they had a septic tank under their deck, their double-decker deck.
Which was built with no permit.
Supposedly.
As far as we can tell, correct. So from that, the homeowner reached out to us to talk about what we could do to make it complete, do the actual hookup and crush the tank. So you'll see in the emails going back and forth, we did do that. We had to wait until the springtime because we had talked about this in the fall. Had to wait till the spring because it's a crawl area. Had to crawl down underneath and verify everything. So their request, by the way, we came to an agreement with the homeowner as to who would pay what portion of the bill from the ports, because they did the work.
Well, I got another question. When we initially had to hook up, there was a sewer, not a fee, but hookup, I think it was $9,000 or something to that effect when we hooked up. Did they pay that?
I have to go back through the records and check, but it looks like they have been paying their sewer use every year.
Right, but did they pay their hookup fee?
I'd have to check to confirm they paid their hookup fee, but I believe,
Or the person before them?
I believe yes, because I think there was a lien on the property who were not paying their sewer. But I can double check with that and answer that.
Please. It is installed, it isn't hooked up, but it is installed, so I would want to refund that money because it's there. And if they're less than 100 feet from the road, they need to be hooked up.
Yeah, so they are hooked up now.
Okay, that's my next question.
Yep, we're getting there.
Okay.
So the work was done this spring.
Mhm.
Then after the work, by the way, the agreement was they would pay towards the actual work being done. They paid, I think it was $1,500. The town took on the rest of that responsibility.
Putting it in?
Crushing,
Yep,
doing the connection from the house to the grinder.
yep,
So that's what we had to pay. It was roughly $10,000.
exactly.
Of that, they paid $1,500
Why?
because they didn't want to pay anything, and I talked them into paying some.
But they've got the grinder, they've got the hookup. They've got all that.
But what wasn't done was the crushing of the box and the actual physical hookup.
And I get that, but they still got the actual installation. I mean, granted, if they've been paying for stuff that they haven't had full use of, I get that. Okay, I don't have a problem with that part. I do have a problem with they've got the product, they've got the hookup, they've got all the grinder, they've got the installation, they got all that for $1,500. It is their property.
What do you say? What do you mean?
I'm saying that if the original homeowner did not pay the hookup, round figure $10,000, if the original owner, that lien should have been transferred with the property. Okay? That being said, when that lien was transferred with the property, it would have transferred to the new person owning the house.
So I don't know if you have an email in front of you, I do believe they said in the email that there was a lien on the house that they paid.
And if that's paid off, that's,
Around $8,000.
okay.
I don't know if that's in there, Kevin.
Yeah, somewhere in one of those emails. We had multiple emails. This is one of the last ones.
I don't see that in
One of the
here.
last ones he sent, actually.
Hold on.
But I can confirm with Becky in finance how much they paid for the sewer use and how much they paid in the lien to the new homeowner.
Again, if the previous owner paid it, or the lien was transferred to the present property owner, and they paid it off, I got no problem with it. I don't know what that 1,500 you're talking about is you talked them into, if they already paid it. If someone's already paid that, being the old property owner or the new property owner with the tax lien, you understand, see what I'm saying?
Kind of. But the work wasn't done. The work to crush the box was not done.
That was not done, and if that's the part of the bill you're talking about, I get that. If the work wasn't done for crushing it and that type of thing, yes, but I'm saying whatever the cost for that grinder and the line and the whole 9 yards getting out to there,
Yep.
that should be recouped by the town. The crushing of the well, or of the
Right.
septic and all that, I totally, that service wasn't provided.
I believe the cost roughly was $5,000 for the lien. I could be wrong.
Can we check that out?
Yeah,
That's the 4969?
yeah, that might be it.
Yep, they paid that.
Yeah, so that might have been the lien, potentially either for back sewer use or potentially for the assessment that he's talking about.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Can I assume that they had a problem with the septic tank, saying it was 20 years they thought they were paying?
Yes.
Did they have a problem with the septic?
Yes, that's how the email got back and forth. I said, you're hooked up to sewer, it's not my problem. They're like, well, I have these problems. That's how I called the plumber out a few times. They're looking, and if you look through the email, they're looking to recoup some of those fees as well. So yeah, I think they finally, but the house was also abandoned and not really in use for most of those years. So actually when McCord and Sons got there, the septic tank was actually bone dry.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been having some septic issues, which makes sense. It was going into the tank and potentially had nowhere to go.
Right, because nobody was in use, it wasn't in use. So I see a bill here on the last page for $6,626.32. It looks like there's still a statement on 5/2/25 that is that bill outstanding.
What's it say?
It says statement as of 5/2/25, which was the beginning of the month. It says there's what it looks like an outstanding thing of $6,626.32.
Hey, can you see that whole word?
I
Statement?
can just, yeah, it says statements.
Oh, because I only got ends.
Well, I've only got it two, but it says
Well,
statements.
could it be payments?
Oh, good point.
I'm not quite sure what it was.
I don't know.
I believe it is because we take two lines up from that, it says 00. It's total due now.
I mean, you can't read it, so.
Yes, cut it off.
I don't want to assume it says statements or payments. You know what I mean? It could say either one, so it could either be a bill,
Yeah.
or it could be a payment. Both end with MENT. MENT.
We had the help of K&H report, and we already put it down for what the work we did for the septic. So whatever that is, that might be what they're asking us to pay from what they owe, maybe from plumbers and stuff.
This is a
Yeah, what I can say is on that, there's two things they're asking for. The first one is a much easier answer. Because they've been paying the sewer bills all this time. They were asking if they could be reimbursed for that because they weren't getting sewer. However, the state statute says we can only go back 3 years.
And they're asking for.
Well, they're asking for all of it back, but again, we can't do that. We can only do, I talked to Mr. Levesque last night. And so I explained that to him and he understood. He had no problem with that. So I think the first part of this is fairly easy where we can, follow the state statute and pay back the last 3 years. Whether we vote to, and I don't know if we can do it or not, can we put it on for either a check or do we have to do just a relief for 3 years?
Do we do it on credit or do we pay it back? What do you want to do, Cal? How you feeling about this?
I'm thinking
What's easier? What's easiest?
to reimburse them if
Yeah.
you can.
Whatever the state statute says.
Yeah.
I would say follow the state statute for the last few years. for reimbursement.
Yeah, we'll reimburse them.
Okay, so you're gonna do reimbursement.
So that's for part one. Part two, the question was, we have paid for multiple plumbing visits and excavation by Bob Navin, only to realize that services that would have been unnecessarily had been corrected. Sewer to the town, records indicated. Though we feel 100% sure that some of our earlier years' plumbing calls were also caused by the fact that we were not connected to the sewer as promised, to the tune of $1,000 or more, we recognize that it may be challenging to remedy that financially at this point. However, most recently, we paid LaPorte $700 to do camera work in the fall to prove to the town that our house was still connected to septic, and before that paid Navin to do excavation work to expose the town's records indicated was the plumbing to the grinder pump, only to discover that no plumbing to the pump existed. Once again, we think that cash reimbursement of these expenses is the most reasonable response. We would also consider accepting credit towards future tax bills, or town tax bills, instead of a check to the town. So,
I'd like to start that out with, I'd like to see the report. There's no report added to this, they're just telling us that we owe them $700.
they would like us to consider.
I'd like to consider seeing the bill. And with a report from the plumber.
Yeah. I'll ask them.
That would be the very first place to start that deal. I'm not against it.
Yep.
If this report tells us that,
Like an invoice,
invoice, and with a report saying that you're not hooked up with sewer, this is my professional opinion.
Right, okay.
So I think the action tonight would be to talk about number one, and to follow the state statute to do a reimbursement as it's listed, but via the state statute for 3 years.
Sorry, that was shut off.
And then we can also address the future one by asking them to bring forth bills to prove their costs. And we can act on that at that time.
I'll make a motion that we, whatever the state statute is, we reimburse them for the last 3 years, that's the state statute, for their sewer installment. And whatever, if it's the state statute that we give them, reimburse them all at once, please follow whatever that is.
Okay.
That's my motion,
Reimbursement via state statute for the last 3 years.
which is $412, $422, and $432, whatever that comes to.
$12.66.
Thank you, Art.
And I'm not doing 7.
No. So we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? I will contact the homeowner, let them know what happened tonight and what we can possibly expect in the future from them.
One other thing I just noticed at the beginning in 2005, which is when the grinders and things that, they paid $4,969.04 for the initial installment. I'm just putting that out there, putting it on public record. Doesn't look like it's all a bill for that, but they paid some towards it. And they still have, they have the apparatus, they have the hookup, they
Yes.
have everything they need.
Yes.
Peggy, what was that number again?
The bill that they paid at the beginning of the bill,
Yeah,
the bill that was in
4,000.
the debate, it says, upon purchase of the property, I can't verify this is only what I have in front of me, for $4,969.04, which is a sewer bill upon the purchase of the property. I don't have the bill, if you could verify that, that'd be great.
So we go back to the motion for reimbursement through state statute for the past 3 years to the amount of $12.66, $1,266.
I'm questioning the 49.69 now, though.
We can't act on that though
No,
because,
but
And-
is
They have to-
that the hookup, or was that the lien that they paid?
Well, the lien is the hookup, but that's not the whole lien. I don't know what happened with the original owner.
Yeah, it was a little different, wasn't it?
Well, the original, whoever owned the house when that got put in, it was a lot more than that. Now, whether the original, I can't surmise because I don't have the bills, we don't have the proper documentation here. But you know, could be that they, the former owner paid some, it could be not, we don't.
We don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
So if you can find it.
What, can I ask a question of that? I know you want to get to the bottom of what happened,
Yeah, I just,
but germane to the motion?
yeah,
Okay, it's not really at that point,
okay.
anything we can do with it.
I made the motion, so.
Art seconded already, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 3, discuss an act on a request to waive sewer assessment fees for 23 Furnace. So the owner of 23, I'm sorry, Furnace, I said Florence. Florence doesn't believe that they should be had to pay the $3,000 sewer assessment that they paid to extend the road and sewer back in 2001. Attached is the proof. So is the sewer assessment that was here. Attached is the proof they provided. Colello Excavation did the work and Jeff Colello paid. Per section 4, part D in our ordinance, it states the following. And you have a piece of that, just a section of that, right? It's D. Privately constructed sewers and public roadways or rights-of-ways. Developers installing sewerage may have it financially or wholly or partially by other property owners who connect to it during the construction or after a period not to exceed 10 years from completion. Proposals to invest in sewage systems improvements by private investors or developers for which adjacent benefiting property owners participate must have their proposal approved by the authority. Conditions which must be their proposal must be met before such projects can be implemented are, and there's 4 items. This one I guess would be number 2. Assessment of benefits, the variable fee based on the ratio of the assessed property value in relation to the assessed property values of participating properties multiplied by an agreement upon pre-construction total cost to the developer or investor. So what we have in front of us is also the Plainfield WPCA Authority collections at that time, September 20th of 02. From July, the checks made payable to Plainfield Sewer dated July 30th of 02 for $500. Total payment must be paid upon issuance of certificate of occupancy. And that was for Jeff for 24. And there's the actual check. So if we're following the ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, reading through the ordinance, privately constructed sewers in public roadways or rights-of-ways. It talks about the developer installing sewage may have it financially or whole or partially by other property owners who connect to it during construction on or after a period not to exceed 10 years from completion. That was in 2001, correct?
Yeah.
We're in 2025.
Over 10 years.
It's over 10 years, so I'm just trying to understand how the request is to have a bypass of the sewage assessment when it was over 10 years. Your thoughts?
Yes, Jeff Lowe is one who paid to extend the sewer. Town accepted it as a sewer extension, hence why he only had to pay $500 back when he connected. It has been more than the 10 years that he's asking to be exempt since he was the one who extended it. He's the one who, I guess, installed laterals to the property line, so he's asking for the exemption.
Exemption for?
To not have to pay the town the full $3,000 assessment.
We extended the road
Yep.
on.
I'm sorry, if you wouldn't mind, just for the record, your name.
Selena Colello.
Thank you.
Okay, back in 2001, we had to extend the road and we put in a cul-de-sac. Let's see, we put in 110 feet of pipe, 6-inch sewer pipe at 2% grade, installed manhole, cleared and stumped the turnaround, cut the road, ran sewer laterals on each lot, built 2 inverts and manholes, paved the turnaround with binder and surface coat, and conveyed the turnaround to the town of Plainfield.
And at
Back
that
in
time,
2001.
yeah, at that time, the payment was for $500. What was that for?
The $500 was to connect one house to the sewer. Since he's the one who extended it, instead of giving us $3,000, you'd pay himself the $2,500, then only give the town $500. It's pretty much a way for the developer to recoup some of the cost of extending the sewer, is they get the fees of anyone who hooks up to that new line they extended.
But the cost of it to the, so he paid the town 500, he was gonna keep the 2,500?
Yeah, so let's say,
Okay.
let's say you built the road,
Yep,
and so then someone else built the house. They would pay you $2,500, because you're the one who put the sewer in, and then they give the town just $500 as part of the assessment, since you're the one who paid to put the sewer in.
so how does 20 years later, the 3,000 get involved?
No, so yeah, according to our policy, you'd only get the $2,500 per person that connected up to 10 years. After that, then the town would collect the full $3,000, and none would go back to the developer.
So have you put a new house there or something, is why
We
you're
did,
asking?
my son built a house
Mhm.
on the property adjacent to the cul-de-sac where we had already extended the laterals. The lateral was already on his property, so he just had to hook his house to the lateral. And we were told years ago that by Jeff Young, who unfortunately has passed away, but that we should not be charged an assessment because we extended the road, put in all the sewer lines and everything, the manhole, everything, that we should not be charged an assessment ever on that property.
It was a verbal, but there's no written documents to that?
A lot of things are said in town verbally. It has to, believe me. Some of the stuff that's come back to, someone said to someone, who said to someone.
But I mean, it didn't cost the town anything to put in the sewer lines. We put in everything. We paid to extend the road, paid to pave the road, and then we conveyed the turnaround over to the town.
Right, you conveyed it to the town.
Yes. So we're asking for an exemption that my son does not have to pay the assessment to have hooked onto it, onto the sewer line.
Because he put it in?
Because we put it in.
You put it in or your son put it in?
We put it in. We put in all the sewer lines going down the road, extending the road.
Right.
Put in the turnaround, had the laterals going onto the property from the manhole. So we're asking that he is not charged an assessment to have hooked onto it.
So I have a couple quick questions, if you don't mind. So that road was built by whom? The entire road?
The entire road was, I would have to say, from his great-grandfather.
But the Collo family built that road?
Yes.
So the other houses that did tie-ups, who paid for the assessments of those other houses?
We just extended the road. I mean, I think everybody must have paid their assessments. I have no idea. The road was in when we got there, but it ended to where our lots were, and we put in the turnaround. That was not there. It was just 2 lots, and ran all the sewer lines at no cost to the town.
I mean, I know things come up, but, you know, we're talking like 24 years later. Was the house finished in 24?
Our house?
The one new one?
Oh, we're still waiting to get a CO on that.
Okay.
So has the house been hooked up? In order to get a CO, you have to have the house hooked up. So the house is hooked up.
Yes.
And they paid the assessment. They're looking for,
No, they have not.
They
No.
have not.
assessment is being requested because it's ready to go for CO.
So it's holding up your CO, is what you're saying? That, this assessment?
No, there's not a lot holding up our.
Oh, okay, there's more than that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is one of the components.
So you're saying that your house and your son's house are the only two added houses
Yes.
to that road?
Ours has been there since 2002, and he just built onto the lot across from us. So we're asking to waive it. I mean, it was no cost to the town to put in the sewer lines. We ate the cost to put it in, we put the road in. Well, we cut the road and extended it.
The sewer line, you put the sewer line in from Colello
I have a plan, do
all the way?
you want to see that? I have a blueprint here.
So they just extended
the
the
only-
sewer, so they pretty much.
You extended the sewer to your two houses?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
You didn't put the whole line from Colello in?
No.
Okay.
No, we went from one manhole and we put in the manhole.
And this ordinance was in place at that time?
You know what the ordinance number is, by the way? I just have a problem because it's the way the ordinance is written, it does say not to exceed 10 years.
I think the new ordinance went into effect in August 2002. I think the old ordinance doesn't even mention anything about developers getting reimbursed.
And you said your house went in 2002?
Yes.
So do you remember the spring, fall, summer?
Do I remember the spring?
When your house was, like, when was your house built? Like, when was it, when did you get the CO on it? Was it, because this was August of 2002.
I mean, it would have been around summertime when we moved in. I don't know the exact date that we moved in, but it was 2002.
It's not an easy one. When you had yours put in, you were waived then because so you were within that 10-year
Because we
period.
extended the line.
Yeah.
How much did it cost to extend the line?
I think we had given receipts.
Is that part of that? It's not part of you see that
I
copy
want
there
to
of the
say it was,
bills?
what was it,
Is that the $6,000 bill?
$12,500 or something
So like
that.
June 13th of '02.
So you paid Jeff $8,500 and $613 of '02 for what the bill is.
Oh, we paid Army Colello.
No, sorry, it's written by Jeff Phillip.
Well, that's my husband.
Oh, okay.
So those are our receipts that we paid to Ernie
Mhm.
to put in the road.
To put in the road and to put in the sewer.
To put in the sewer, the road, he did all the site work.
Yeah. It's all the components of it.
Do you know what you paid? What portion of this is for the sewer?
Do I know what?
Yeah, like on this bill, do you know what portion of these bills that we're looking at are actually to extend the sewer, not the pavement and the house, you know?
I would say it's 12,500. I mean, I don't know. Those are the receipts that we have.
What's the
Because
number of the
it
ordinance?
says paved road hall. It says paved in the road.
Maybe from the email or something.
Because in the bill, it says paved road, 6,000 square feet. Talks about grading it. That's not just extending the sewer.
Do you want the blueprint? I have the blueprint from Louis Sojek, who did the blueprint on all the work that we did with all the sewer,
I get that.
sewer stuff in there. I don't know what you're asking.
I'm looking at the bill and what
Yeah.
part of this bill, because it talks about paving the road and everything. I'm not asking to fix something 20 years later either. I agree with you 100%. Not any of us are going to have the receipts for this. but the receipts that you did provide aren't clear on what portion is the actual septic, which is what we're talking about. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not against this per se, I'm against because there's not enough documentation, and again, documentation would be hard to find 20 years later. It's going to be hard for anyone to find 20 years later. The fact that it's 20 years later, I can't make an informed decision, is what I'm saying.
But I don't understand, what does it matter, like what the cost was? We extended the sewer line. We paid all the material to put the sewer line in.
But then you want an abatement of $2,500 for that.
I do. And I think we should give it. We paid for it, the town didn't pay to put the sewer lines in, we paid to put all that in.
The unfortunate part with everything that I see here in the bill, I mean, all the work that was put in says nothing about piping or sewer. Nothing. I can just read it to you really quickly and show you.
I know what the...
Yeah, stumps and rocks,
Yeah,
cul-de-sac, engineering plans, which have gravel,
Or if you believe it says manhole on there somewhere, installation.
dry cellar, hole.
Can I bring up the blueprint?
yeah, you can bring up we believe that you extended the road.
I kind of go back to the issue of 10 years, it's past the 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not debating the fact that you extended the road. I totally understand that, I believe you did.
We extended it from that manhole right here to this manhole right here. Laterals onto both properties. We paid for all this and then conveyed all this over to the town.
Again, if there was something that I can verify, I'm not,
Well, you should have records of this in
I agree.
in the town. You should have an as-built in the town here documented.
I agree.
I mean, I think it should be waived.
I don't have enough information for me, that's my own, I'm just speaking for me, and to the board, not for the board.
Yeah.
I don't have enough information to do that at this point.
Whether that information is there or not, I can go back to
And
the
again-
ordinance again, and the ordinance says privately constructed, and it talks about a period not to exceed 10 years for completion. That's all I got to go on.
And that ordinance is probably there for the reason that nobody's going to have documentation or any kind of information 20 years later. That being said,
This check from 2000 for $500. What is that?
So once someone extends the sewer, it should, at least with the Board of Ordinance, it should be approved as a sewer extension. It's kind of proof that the town accepted it as an extension, because you'd only get the discount if you were the one to extend the sewer.
they get the
So-
2,500.
So that's when since they put them in, they would just they'd only pay us 500, and then the rest would go to the developer. So Ernie, they keep it themselves since they're the ones. who
You were the general contractor.
Okay.
Yes, since they were general contractor, they kind of pay for themselves,
Okay.
So whether it was them or somebody else that was going to put a house in, that it would work out the deal with whomever did the work for the initial, well,
To recoup.
in this case, 2,500, because they paid
So
$5.
why is this other property owner
It's your
looking
son.
for a waiver?
It's your son.
It doesn't have to be, it could have been me. Why would this property owner be looking for a waiver? They were involved in that original deal, right?
Correct.
So they're just another homeowner that moved in that should pay their hookup fee, right? That's right. The 10 years has nothing to do with that either.
Yeah, so
It
that,
just happens to be the same family. That, they could have sold it to somebody else.
yeah, so at 9
They
years
would have
after
to
it
pay
was
it.
sold, if the ordinance is clear, they would be guaranteed to only have to pay us 500 and pay the developer or the contractor.
Within that 10-year
Yeah,
period.
within that 10 year.
Right, exactly. And that fee's still $3,000
Yes, it hasn't changed.
over 20 years?
We are,
Because, I understand, even though they put the sewer in, it becomes our burden. we still have to pay for it. They're not paying for it anymore. They're not paying for any of the waste that goes through it or anything, so, you know.
Yes, that sewer line is now ours to maintain.
Right, it has been for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts?
Want a motion?
Yeah, those-
I'll make a motion to deny the request for the
and-
waiver for the sewer assessment fees.
And I'm going to second it
Florence.
at this, yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item 4 is to discuss and approve the WPCA North Plant Sludge Handling Building roof bids. We had a couple. We had hundreds, no?
100.
So in your packet, you should have all that information. So we had also a review by CHA on those bids, to verify items. Well, you have a letter from CHA describing that information. Guaranteed Roofing of Canterbury is the lowest responsive bidder with a base bid of $131,820 for those above referenced project. The bid of $64,987.78 from A1 Home Improvement was found to be unresponsive and as it was unsigned and the bid form was not fully completed. Based on a positive response on reference checks, CHA Consulting recommends Guaranteed Roofing, JPW Building LLC to the town of Plainfield, WPCA for the sludge handling building roof replacement project. Please contact if you have any questions. So with that, we like the fact that we go out to have someone verify information for us, and I think this worked out very well.
That's what those engineers are for.
Yeah.
They're $100,000. Exactly. Now
So
it makes more sense.
what would your pleasure be?
I'd make a motion to accept the bid for Guaranteed Roofing in the amount of $131,820 for the sludge handling building roof.
And I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let's go to, too many papers tonight. No other items. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.